push-ups I do in one sitting, knock out 100 of them.
You do 100 push-ups?
Wow, I am blown away. I cannot do that.
Yeah, I'll do 50 and then I rest and then I'll, do another set to wait 10 seconds.
Wow, and these are straight up push-ups?
Straight up push-ups, yeah. And then I'm determined, so I've started because my goal was to get to the floor, to really get to the floor in a push-up. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I can do 12 of those to the floor. Mm-hmm. But and so that's a separate thing.
Are you gonna be sharing that on one of your Instagram posts?
So I'd like to see that. This is very inspiring. Welcome to Functional Medicine Coaching Moms Podcast, where simplifying healthy lifestyle change for moms is the only goal.
Hi, we are thrilled to have Dr. Sandra Scheinbaum on the show today. Dr. Sandi is the founder and CEO of the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, a collaboration with the Institute for Functional Medicine. More importantly, she is a mom and a grandma to twin babies.
This episode is for you if you are curious about what functional medicine health coaching is and why you need it. And if you're already a health coach, be prepared to be re-inspired.
It's also for you if you've never done much strength training. Dr. Sandi is in her 70s and regularly posts on her Instagram videos of her lifting heavy weights.
Dr. Sandi is an author, a member of the Forbes Business Council, and licensed clinical psychologist for over 40 years.
So, Dr. Sandi, thank you so much for being here. And the first thing I want to say is how inspiring your story is, because I'm doing the math and you were a psychologist for 40 years and you could have retired and called it a day. But instead, you turned around and started an academy for functional medicine health coaches. What was it that had you take this leap of faith?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. So yes, I could have retired. In fact, there were people who were telling me that that's what I should do. First and foremost, my husband, who said, what do you need this for? You've had a successful career as a psychologist. Your practice is thriving. Just continue for a few more years seeing people and then retire. What do you need starting a business for? But I wanted to do this because I had a huge mission. I saw all around me people are hurting. And this was pre-pandemic. This was in 2015, 2014, when we first started developing FMCA. But I was seeing people who were coming to me with anxiety, with depression, but with this growing list of chronic diseases that were driven by lifestyle. And I had just finished training through the Institute for Functional Medicine. They train doctors, and I went through the program. I was in the first graduating class to get certified in functional medicine. Even though I was a psychologist, I was always the other. When they said, show of hands, how many are physicians, how many are nurse practitioners, and then at the end, any other. That was me, the one other. I was the only psychologist. And I went through this training and I was so excited that I could take the theories, the principles of functional medicine, and what if I merged them with the methodologies that I had been using and helping people with for so many years, namely positive psychology, because I was practicing that long before it had a name, and mind-body medicine, again, long before it had a name. I was teaching people relaxation and breathing techniques, mind-body practices, and also the functional nutrition piece as well, the psychology of eating. I was teaching courses in psychology of eating at the time. And in fact, I was teaching with Deanna Minnick, who is on our faculty, and we were teaching a psychology of well-being and mind-body medicine courses together. And so I was really excited by the idea of creating a curriculum that blended all of these practices and integrated them. And then what if we trained health coaches? And that's what most inspired me, because there weren't enough, and there still are not enough functional medicine doctors. And people can only go so far with a doctor. It's
Right.
expensive. Many of these are not insurance, so it's cash based. But health coaching can partner with these doctors and they could make this accessible. And I really wanted to see that I have a big mission to really help people lead healthier lives. And I felt that there were doctors who could really utilize health coaches. So I wanted to grow this movement and then partnered with the Institute for Functional Medicine because that was the way that we were able to establish ourselves with credibility as well as offer the kind of training that I wanted people to have, which was in these functional medicine principles, because as a collaboration with IFM, we use their faculty and their curriculum materials.
That is such an inspiring story. I mean, it's true. There's such a demand for functional medicine doctors, and it can get very expensive and it's difficult for people. So the health coaching piece really fills in that gap, where people don't have access maybe. And so much of it is the lifestyle that really matters the most. I mean, you can do all the expensive testing and do the supplements, but it's not really maybe the first place you have to go. So it's so exciting that you're helping people fill this need.
Yes, I get up every morning thinking, wow, I just think about all of the people who have been trained through us to become health coaches and all the good that they're doing in the world. You two are a case in point.
Yes, we are. And I want to, let all of our listeners know that Kristin and I are functional medicine graduates. And we started this podcast because we want, after we graduated and we went out into the field, so to speak, a lot of the things that you would get is that a lot of people they would have some type of assumption that a functional medicine health coach, oh, are you going to give me always, like most of the time, are you going to give me a nutritional like plan? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, no, I'm not a nutritionist. And
Mm-hmm.
I really loved the talk that you did at AIC that was functional medicine health coaching, what it is and why you need it. It wasn't until going through the process at the Functional Medicine Health Coaching Academy where I was becoming a certified health coach. And the same story with Kristin, because her and I have had this conversation where we didn't even know that we didn't know.
Yeah,
We did.
we always say too, functional medicine health coaching was the best thing we never knew we needed because
I
it
love
just
it.
changed everything. Like, you
It
thought you
really.
were just going to improve your nutrition, your movement, your stress, but you just evolve as a person. It lets you tap into things. That positive psychology piece is so key to really up leveling your whole life.
Yes, it is really a different orientation once you start focusing on what is right with you. As Dr. Robert Luby, Director of Med Ed at IFM, likes to say, what's strong with you instead of what's wrong with you. Then your whole orientation shifts. And that's the approach when we're working with clients. So you are so right. It's not a matter of eat this, not that. That's what they come in thinking they want. If
Mm-hmm.
only somebody gave me a meal plan, told me how to lose weight, told me how to exercise. But how many times have you learned that? You could be standing in line at a grocery store and see a magazine about, ways to lose 5 pounds or get firmer abs, or how many diet books have been out there and how many people are just still buying more, thinking
Mm-hmm.
here's the answer. It does works when you have a guide, when you have an ally, you have an accountability partner, you have somebody who is going to help you with giving you specific information if that's what you're asking for, but in a way that is fitting for you, where you said, yeah, that works. This is what I want to do. And then they help you to really nail it by starting with small goals that you can accomplish.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the huge piece, because I came into the Functional Medicine Health Coaching Academy as a trainer, as a certified personal trainer. And I've been a personal trainer, and I'm also an older adult and senior fitness specialist. And I've been doing that since 2007. So I'm so used to creating programs. Clients come, I create the programs, and I tell them what to do, how to do it, etc. And I'm not a nutritionist, but I can give nutritional guidance and all that, all that sort of stuff. They ask me, I tell them. And after going through the functional medicine, getting certified as a functional medicine health coach, and just the process I started shifting how I started training. And it was actually just a natural unfolding, if you will. And what I find is that when I have, like, specifically, there's one client that I can think of. She was asking me, should I do the 20s? And I'm like, should you? Should you do the 20s? Should you try, the 20s? And she's like, yeah, maybe I can try. And she's the one. Normally, prior, I would say, okay, I think it's time for you to do the 20s. Oh no, I don't think I can do the 20s. No, you can do it. Just try it. We can always go down. But she's the one. I turned around like, well, should you try the 20s? Now she made the decision. And I think that part of being the guide as a functional medicine health coach is that I think the functional, like, I helped her being by her side while she made a decision for herself.
Yes.
And supported her in her decision and was there just, as an accompaniment to the decision that she made. And so now, guess what? Now she goes to the gym without me and she owns it because she knows she made that decision herself. She doesn't have an insecurity that, well, it's my trainer that's really the one that's telling me what to do. Like, no, I've actually been making decisions with my trainer, but I'm the one making the decisions. And it's a completely different energy. It's a completely different approach. I find it amazing.
Yes,
really
absolutely.
amazing.
She's
I
in
would have never known
control.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think that is such a huge, huge, huge thing. Cause like you said, you can look at any magazine that gives you, step 1, step 2, step 3. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. It's how do you get to a point where you believe that you will do it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, so we have to ask you a little bit, Dr. Sandi, about your journey with strength training, because we love seeing your videos that you put on Instagram, just showing yourself, doing lifting heavy weights and how you said that you didn't always do that. So we'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, first of all, I grew up in an era where women didn't lift weights. They didn't even go to the gym. And it was, and I always loved activities that were dance-like. So I took ballet. In fact, I still do. I just came back from a ballet class. I take it 4 times a week. But I do yoga, I do Pilates, I have a reformer at home, which I got during the pandemic because I missed that so much that I decided to invest in home equipment. And I believe in balance and a little bit of everything. So I work on balance. I have a trampoline and I work on as a rebounder. And so I'm focusing on, I think I'm 73, so it is really like brushing my teeth. It's not an option. It's not, I know that as we get older, we lose muscle. And we're all, and sarcopenia is one of the number one problems when you get old. You don't want to be frail. I was recently at a reunion. We were outside. These were just a few women from my graduating class in high school class of 1967. So a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we decided to take a picture, and some of us had to sit on the grass because there were too many of us. We used in the front row, the short ones for the old class pictures. Okay, we'll replicate that. And I was astounded by how many people could not get up off the floor. They were sitting cross-legged and they couldn't get up. They needed someone to come and help them get up. That's what we need to avoid. So I am determined. And so for me, it is, I work out in some way every day, not always the same. Sometimes it's more Pilates and yoga during the day. There's some things I always do. And I've been doing this for years. So in yoga, I have a routine that I do, and it incorporates headstands and handstands and forearm balances because I just like the feeling of doing those 3 poses. And I'll do them even if I'm traveling in a hotel room. I travel with my mat and find a wall. I can't do them I can do a headstand in the center of the room, but not a handstand. But then I also I'm not doing as much cardio. And that's the other big shift. So years ago, a treadmill, and I remember those days, and my kids were little, and every morning I'd get up early, I'd go downstairs. I don't think I even drank a glass of water. I just go downstairs, get my 5. I mean, it was so unhealthy, and got my running in. on the treadmill. And now I just do it very efficiently, high intensity interval training, breaking into sprints.
Yes.
And just a few times a week. And the main focus is resistance training. And even when I have trainers at the gym, they will start out so low. I was doing pull-ups with a trainer, and he's got me, and this was the assisted pull-ups, so you got weights helping you, and he's starting me like I could have done 200 of those. It was like, oh, I want, and I'm constantly saying, I want more challenge. I want to be able to go to failure. And so that's what I do when I'm in the gym alone. I just purposely do heavy. I was just at the gym. I took my ballet class and I did a few weights and I did leg presses. And when I started out, I could do maybe 100. And now I did 320 pounds on the leg press.
Wow.
So, I am.
Let's go.
That's a round of applause.
Now,
for sure.
full disclosure, I did not have it on the setting where you're totally like your knees are touching your chest. I can't do that weight on that. But, just far enough out where I was able to push it. So that,
Yes.
and I just feel,
Amazing.
I've noticed, actually I had to go up a size in pants because I never had a butt and I now have a butt. I'm proud of it. So,
Wow.
Oh my
That's
God, I
exciting.
love
but
that.
it is. And so I really want to encourage anyone who's listening, whether it's you have a relative, a mom, a dad who is getting up in years, you can actually build muscle. But the other thing I do, because it's not just muscle in isolation, but I do heavy protein. And that's another big shift. I used to be a vegetarian, vegan for many years. And it's really, as you get older, that's just not sustainable. You cannot get enough protein. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who's a good friend of mine, she just was interviewed for our podcast from FMCA, and she talks about muscle being the organ of longevity, muscle-centric medicine. And in order to keep muscle and build muscle, you need protein. And so I am just committed to that. I never would order like a big steak in a restaurant before, and now that's my meal.
That talk about inspiring.
Yeah. And I love how you talk about how you really switch it up with your routines. It's not like you're just doing the same thing all the time. You keep it interesting. You incorporate yoga, you have the strength training, you have Pilates. So I like that. And some HIIT training too. So that's very inspiring for all of us. What would you say for someone that though was just starting out with the strength training? Like it can be intimidating. What would your advice be?
Yeah, well, that's a good word, intimidating. I was just talking to somebody the other day in fact, I saw her in the weight room today, and she said, I get so intimidated. I don't know what to do. I go into the weight room and I see all these machines and the free weights, and I don't know what to do. And all these big guys are there. And so then I just go back to the treadmill or the elliptical, of really fearing it. So I think that having a guide, just as we talked about a health coach, having a trainer who can help you. And I like my trainer because he will push me to things that I wouldn't gravitate towards. Like the other day, he gave me this big ball and I was supposed to throw it against the wall. And that was humbling. I could not do it. I was never good at ball sports, but so I never would have thought of that on my own. And I realized, I need that. And so having a trainer that you trust, but also really focusing on starting small. It doesn't matter what your weight you can lift. You build from there. And then there's a lot of things that a trainer can help you just using your own body weight, like wall squats, push-ups. So that's the other thing I do. I forgot to mention. So this started during the pandemic. I do at least 100 push-ups a day. Now I'm trying to do 100 squats a day, and just religiously. And I just get them in because there's so much you can do with your own body weight. And so having somebody help you at first so that you get the correct form. And then you can just do those throughout the day. You're making your coffee. I did that this morning. I was waiting for my coffee and I did 20 squats. And then I keep building. So I get to 100 at the end of the day.
That's amazing. So you break it up throughout the day. I was curious about that. Okay.
Right. That's what I was going to ask. Do you do the 100 at one shot, or is it spread out?
Yeah, the push-ups I do in one sitting. I knock out 100.
You do 100?
Wow, I am blown away. I cannot do that.
Yeah, I'll do 50 and then I rest, and then I'll do another set wait 10 seconds.
Wow. And these are straight up push-ups?
Straight up push-ups, yeah. And
Wow.
then I'm determined. So
Super.
I've started because my goal was to get to the floor, to really get to the floor in a push
Right.
up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can do 12 of those to the floor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But and so that's a
Okay.
separate
Are you
thing.
gonna are you gonna be sharing that on one of your Instagram posts? Show us
I'd
your
like to
full
see
on
that. This is
push-ups?
very
Yeah. That would be
inspiring.
very cool, honestly.
Yeah.
That
I
would be
do those
very,
as a
very cool.
chaturanga push-up. That's how it started. So I was doing sun salutations. I've done that
Mm-hmm.
for years. 5 salutations to start my yoga practice, and then I started just incorporating a chaturanga where you keep your elbows by your side, and so I started incorporating that into that sun salutation sequence.
That is
Well, and I love your idea of like breaking it up throughout the day, because it just keeps you move. Even I'm thinking, wow, I'm sitting at a desk right now. If I could just, take a break, do 10 squats, and by the end of the day, I could get a lot in. I like that.
Yeah, someone, I think it was Ben Greenfield, who said he keeps a kettlebell under his desk and
Mm-hmm.
just, kettlebell swings. And one of the things that gets me to do resistance training is not like years ago, I would work with a trainer on and off, or go into the resistance training part of the gym and think I had to be there for an hour, and I had to do a whole sequence of things. Now
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'll do 3. Like, so I was in the gym today and I just did some leg presses and I did some pull-ups. Okay, done. 3 sets of each, and then tomorrow I'll do another series of something. And so I found that is doable,
Mm-hmm.
where I can just take short bursts throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
you're
love
Exercise
speaking
that.
our
snaps.
language, the all or
Mm-hmm.
nothing mindset,
Yes.
right? It's not an
Yeah.
all or
No.
nothing.
No.
It's because, like, if you think, like, if you always thought you had to be there, because that is like, people think, oh, I'm going to work out. And you automatically think like an hour. For some reason, that is
Mm-hmm.
like stamped in our brains.
It is.
Right.
But now, like Kristin and I don't even know how long ago it was, like a month ago or a month and a half ago, we did the 5-minute challenge.
I love that. I saw
It
it.
was the 5-day,
Yeah.
5-minute challenge. And what we found out was that in 5 minutes, we were able to do 40 push-ups,
Yeah.
40 squats, 40 bicycle crunches in 5 minutes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
volume was what blew my mind, because I would always just discount, like, oh, 5 minutes. Why, it's not worth it. But
Yeah.
it is worth it.
It is
Yeah,
worth
and
it.
especially for moms, you're waiting for a child, at school, or picking up from a
Mhm.
soccer game. You can just do some squats. You could do some heel raises, and which is great for lymphatic fluid. I mean, there's so many. You can balance in tree pose. There's so many ways that you can
Yeah, I like
incorporate
that.
it into your day.
Well, in an effort to be mindful of our time, we would like to ask you, we ask all our guests, because the goal of our podcast is to simplify healthy lifestyle change for moms. So we were wondering, what are 2 simple things that a mom could do, get started with even today, to try out to improve their health?
Sure. So I think the first thing is mindset, to be really aware, to picture your day as something good. And I learned this from DJ Fogg. And then this is something my mother used to do. Every time your feet hit the floor, as soon as you wake up in the morning, today is going to be a good day. And you picture it. And you picture that process of whatever you might be anticipating that's challenging, that's stressful, to breeze through it. So that's that imagery, it's that sense of whatever it is, I'll make it through. I may not do it perfectly, but it's good enough. And then the second would be to focus on how are you going to incorporate one element of mindful movement, that, and hopefully in nature. So how can you be, we tend to be stuck often in the house all day, doing chores all day, or moving from, we're going to go grocery shopping, then we have to hurry to pick up the kids, then we got to get dinner, then we got to drive them through an activity perhaps. Can you take some time to be really aware of the beauty that's around you? And it makes it really easy when you're going outside to just take a breath and inhale and just feel that air, feeling that something that is restorative for you. And again, it doesn't take long. It could be a few breaths and you will feel restored, renewed. So, and being just really aware of the gift that you have to do this, and how being a mom is just, it's such a gift to appreciate every moment, and even the worst ones will pass, even the meltdowns that happen.
I love that. And that's so simple to do. And it's true. I mean, so many days you just don't get outside, whether you're just working all day or you're, taking care of kids or in the car a lot. But yeah, we don't get outside in nature enough. So that's wonderful. And I love the idea of making it a good day and envisioning your day, like setting the tone, like instead of just being pulled by your day, you directing how you want it to go. I love that.
Yeah, I do love that. I tell my grandson in the mornings when he's going to school, I say, Emmett, have the day you want. He's
Yes.
like, yes,
Yes.
Amma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have the day you want.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Sandi has a bonus offer for our listeners today. It will be in the show notes. It's a simple guide to relaxation through breathing. We all could use a little help with the relaxation. So,
Yes.
thank you for
Yeah,
that,
thank you.
Dr. Sandi. Dr. Nancy is so funny. Those are my kids. My kids, when they were younger, that was their pediatrician. And you can connect with Dr. Sandi on Instagram. Her handle is at Dr. Sandi with an I at the end. Her Facebook and LinkedIn is Sandra Scheinbaum. We will put the links to all of these in the show notes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sandi, for coming on today. We so appreciate your inspiration for us health coaches and anyone that's considering being a health coach. Moms make awesome health coaches. So
Oh, they absolutely
definitely
do.
check out Functional Medicine Coaching Academy for those moms that might be interested in helping others on their journey.
Well, thank
Yes.
you both. This has been an absolute delight. It gives me so much joy to see the success that you are having as health coaches and on this podcast, spreading the word.
Thank
you. Thank you.
See you next time.
The information provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, curing, treating, or preventing any disease. We are functional medicine certified health coaches and not licensed medical professionals. The opinions and advice of guests are their own and also not considered to be medical advice. Always consult with a healthcare professional when making any healthy lifestyle changes. We would love to hear from our mom community. Any wellness topics that are high on your list, please DM us at Functional Medicine Coaching Moms. We can also be reached via email at info@functionalmedicincoachingmoms.com. You can find Functional Medicine Coaching Moms podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button.